Today, we're going to touch on a subject that most people want to kind of push away. And I want you to hear what this guy has to say because there's more to this. Let's listen.
We are raising mentally weak children because we overdo for them. One of the concepts in the book I really love is if you do too much for your children, you are increasing your self-esteem by stealing theirs. That we develop mental toughness by solving problems. So if my daughter would forget her homework at home, nobody's bringing it to school. If she didn't bring a jacket on a cold day, even though her mother told her to, nobody's bringing her the jacket.
You know what? I'm gonna stop right there because this is deep. I remember when I was younger, there was a lot of independence that went on in my childhood, like such as if I wanted to go from here to there, park playgrounds or whatever, guess what? My mom was working, and most of my other friends were working. And you know how we got there? We walked. Talking about independence.
It's so important to, when a child says, I'm bored, rather than you fix it, just say, I wonder what you're going to do about it. And
that's deep. And another thing I thinking about, I don't want to talk for everyone's behalf because I want to see what you think about this. But when we were bored, you know what? We didn't have cell phones that took our up 99% of our mental capacity and our time. We went outside, we threw rocks, we hit the signs, we tried to play games. We did a lot of outdoor activities. And we're going to touch on this here in a minute because I know some of you are going to say, well, kids can't go outside anymore. Maybe.
Then shut up. Let them begin to figure out their problems or the solutions to their problems rather than being overly involved with them.
This is something to think about. I normally talk about, well, this is not a negative conversation, but I'm Lemmy Moore, and this is my channel. We talk about nothing but positivity, improving, and lots of fun stuff. It's all about smiling. And today, I want to touch on this because that's deep. A lot of times, you see children from the past 10 or 20 years, they're different from when my generation. I can tell if a child has been homeschooled. I can tell a child who's just has two busy parents, and I can tell a child that the parents has always involved them with every single activity. Being in the country now, I don't see a difference between my childhood and the kids around here in the country, what they're going through right now, because they don't own cell phones until they get 16 or 17 years old. And it's a bit different. I mean, I used to teach gymnastics years ago, and I would see certain kids of wealth come in, and certain kids that were in the medium type of range of income. And you can tell the difference between those who had a lot of help and efforts and those who had to work to be at a certain position. Now, I'm not saying all kids are, before, some of my trolls get on here, I'm not saying that just because you have money doesn't mean that these kids are different, because I've seen some real stern parents when it came to those who worked hard for the money and their kids were really good kids. Then some, I've seen some that just didn't care. You could tell they got everything. They threw fits and this and that. And this brings up a point for me. Like here on the farm and out here in the country, kids are still disciplined. Like if you want something, you've got to pay for it. Or if they're out of line, they're going to get it. I remember playing games with some friends and family, and then my son, my oldest, who's in college now, which my youngest, which is college now, And we were talking about discipline, this and that. And then my son was laughing, going, and he says, because he knew, he was like, well, that's considered child abuse now. And everybody looked at him and said, you get out of line and see what you want to call that. It was kind of funny because, he's in that generation where he still got in trouble. I'm the daddy, we don't play around. And I see good kids that were disciplined when they were younger versus those who just said, oh, honey, you can't do that. Or they just got tired of the kids going, I want it. And they're like, here. I want you to think about that. Our kids now, from, let's just say 10 years ago, now are they really weak? Are we mentally raising weak kids? That's something to think about. You get on Instagram, you get on Facebook, you get on TikTok, and some kids are talking about, they don't want to work because they don't like a certain thing or this and that. And I'm like, wow, what is going on with that generation? Maybe it's me. I don't know. I come from a family where I always had to work. My mentality was, as soon as I got out of high school, that's the first thing I wanted to do was work. If we wanted anything, we had to raise the money for ourselves. If I wanted my first car, I had to buy it myself. You see what I'm saying? That's the mentality I was in when I was younger. But is that a bad thing, though? Like these days, these kids hit a certain age, they think, hey, where's my car? Where's this and that? Where's my? Like, it was a thing for them. I even saw some videos. A lady said that she was suing her parents because she was born into this world and she didn't like this world. And so she was taking her parents to court. Can you believe? I hope that's not true. I think that's a case where someone actually sued their parents for being born. Like, is that mentally weak or what? However, I just want to say this. What if they're not mentally weak? We just haven't redirected them the right way. When it comes to sports, and I know coaches can see this with their children when it comes to, it's kind of rare in sports because there's always discipline in sports. It doesn't matter if it's track, football, volleyball, softball, baseball. There's always going to be that coach that's going to redirect that child and motivate that kid, which is great because it may not have gotten it at home. But to hear this guy saying that some of these kids might be mentally weak as far as problem solving and things like that, I think he's on to something. I could be wrong. What are your thoughts? Kids these days that are growing up, are we doing too much? And I think that's what it is. I think maybe we're doing too much for the children. Maybe we don't give them enough time to figure out the situation. I saw a video just the other day. Let's just see this. Hold on.
I'm 27 years old in a corporate job, and I do not know how to spell. Okay? Because I'm from the generation where I'm in 5th grade, and I had a laptop with spell check on it. That's ridiculous. So now I'm 27 years old, listening to podcasts on how to sound out words and how to spell, because I don't know how. Mind you, I'm educated. I have a bachelor's, and I cannot spell. Ask me how to spell any word. I can't do it. I cannot do it. And if I can't spell, I know my little sisters who are a generation behind me, they can't spell either. We're toast.
You know what? That is so true. And I love this woman. She is so cute. I love it. Look here. And I know a lot of you are guys shaking your head going, yep, that's me. What happened? What happened? We started getting spell check and this and that. I remember when my 4th grade teacher said, Lemmy, you're never, ever, and I don't care what you say, you better figure this out, buddy. That's what she said. But you will never, ever have a calculator with you at all times. Well, Mrs. Smith, you were wrong. Here's the point. I think that somewhere down the line, maybe it wasn't important for us to do certain things as parents. We got busy. And now I know it's just to the point where I see kids right now that are 2 years old, 3 years old, or sitting in front of a TV all day, or they're in the car and there you can see them doing this. They're just stimulating. They're not enjoying the world. That's just my thoughts. I don't know. Maybe we're doing too much. Maybe we're pacifying our kids way too much. I don't have any more kids. I mean, my kids are older now. I'm so glad they're outgoing and they are respectful to the world. I hope I'll never, ever hear a bad thing about them. I don't expect to, because I was one of those parents that, you know, like my parents, you in trouble, you gonna get it. You know what I mean? And that's not allowed anymore for most people. Well, unless you live in the country. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Are we doing too much for our kids? Or do you think our kids are just fine these days? I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some people to say you can't do that, or you can't do this, or kids are fine. But is this really helping the world? Who knows? Maybe. All I know is one thing you should do, because this is a positive channel: love on your babies, love on your kids, give them all the love you can, because you know what? At the end of the day, when something goes wrong and they need to come home, they're going to come home to mama or daddy. Have a great day, guys. If you like this content, please subscribe. This was a weird video. I've never done anything like this, but give me your thoughts. We'll see you in the next video.